Okay, so picture this. You're a former president out on the green enjoying a relaxing day when suddenly your security's rushing you to safety. An assassination attempt.
Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what went down on September 16th at Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach. And the sources, we've got news articles, social media posts, all of it paints a pretty wild picture of what could have been a very different day. The suspect, Ryan Routh, was allegedly positioned just a few hundred yards from the former president, armed with an AK-47 style rifle.
Yeah, just a few hundred yards. That's incredibly close.
Chilling to think about. But what's really got us scratching our heads are the items found with Routh. Ceramic tile, a GoPro camera.
Right, those aren't exactly everyday carry items, are they?
Not at all. It makes you wonder what was the plan here.
Well, someone with tactical training might use ceramic tile to create a makeshift barrier, right, for protection. And the GoPro, well, it could point to wanting to document the entire thing, maybe even share it online for notoriety.
It's a chilling thought, for sure. Which brings us to the big question. Who is Ryan Routh? Now, he's got a record dating back decades, but it's a strange mix of offenses. We're talking bad checks, resisting arrest, even a hit and run.
Yeah, you don't see a clear escalation of criminal behavior, which you often see leading up to something like this.
Right, it's not the typical pattern.
Exactly. And yet buried in those charges is a 2002 charge for possession of a weapon of mass destruction.
Wow, okay, that changes things.
It does. And it makes you want to dig deeper into his online life, where his story takes a very unexpected turn.
Get this. Routh was a Trump supporter. Back in 2016, he was all in.
Yeah, a real head-scratcher, right?
Totally. But then 2020 hits and things change. He posts on X, formerly Twitter, and get a load of this. While you were my choice in 2016, I and the world hoped that President Trump would be different and better than the candidate, but we all were greatly disappointed, and it seems you are getting worse and devolving. I will be glad when you're gone.
Wow, strong words. Sounds like a complete 180.
You're telling me. So is this flip-flopping? Is that something you see a lot of in these kinds of cases?
It's actually not uncommon in radicalization cases.
Really?
Yeah, people like Routh. They might feel let down by the whole system, betrayed by the very leaders they once supported.
I guess that makes sense.
So they become vulnerable to extremist ideologies. Those groups that offer certainty, simple answers, in a world that feels anything but.
So where does social media fit into all this? Could Routh have been sucked into some online echo chamber just feeding his anger?
It's definitely a possibility. Think about it. Social media algorithms, they're designed to keep you scrolling to show you more of what you already agree with.
Right, keep you hooked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that can create these echo chambers where people are only exposed to information that confirms their existing beliefs, no matter how extreme or unfounded.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
In a way. And for someone like Routh, who already has a history of impulsive behavior, well, that online world could have been a dangerous influence.
Especially when you factor in his obsession with the war in Ukraine.
Ah, yes, the Ukraine connection.
So how does Ukraine fit into all of this?
Well, in 2022, Routh traveled to Ukraine. He wanted to join the fight against Russia, even documented the whole thing on social media, tried to recruit others to his cause.
Are you serious? So this wasn't just about American politics for him. He was drawn into a global conflict.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And his statements about Ukraine offer some insight into his mindset at the time. In an interview with Newsweek Romania, he says, "This is about good versus evil."
Talk about black and white thinking.
Exactly. That kind of Manichaean worldview, seeing things in absolutes of good and evil, no room for nuance. It's a classic hallmark of extremist ideologies.
And that can be a dangerous path, leading people to justify just about anything in the name of some greater good. It's wild to think about, Like we always try to find that one reason, the one thing that explains everything.
Right. It's tempting to oversimplify things, but it's rarely that cut and dry.
Yeah, this wasn't just some random act. It feels like years of, experiences, influences, all kind of collided in that moment on the golf course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really highlights how important it is to dig deeper, to look beyond the surface and understand the complex web of factors that contribute to these sorts of actions.
So where does this leave us? What happens now? I mean, this has to have some kind of ripple effect, right? Not just for Routh, but for how we protect former presidents.
Absolutely. This incident will definitely have security agencies rethinking their protocols. It exposes the vulnerabilities of potential gaps in protection that exist, even for someone as high profile as a former president.
You're right. It's a stark reminder of just how challenging it is to ensure security in today's world.
Exactly. The need for vigilance, for constantly adapting to new threats,
Yeah.
it's more critical than ever.
We've gone through a lot today, but I keep coming back to this one question. Was Routh a lone wolf acting entirely on his own? Or is there something more at play here, like a network or an ideology that we should be worried about?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's what investigators will be trying to answer as they dig into Ruth's digital life, his online activity. They'll be looking for any connections that might suggest a larger network or influence at play.
Well, I guess time will tell what they uncover. This deep dive has really been eye-opening, you know? It shows that there's always more to the story than what we see in the headlines.
Exactly. It reminds us to be critical thinkers, to question assumptions, and to seek out different perspectives to fully grasp the significance of events like this.
And on that note, we encourage all of you listening to do your own digging. We'll be sure to link to all the articles and social media posts we discussed so you can explore the details for yourselves and draw your own conclusions. That's what the deep dive is all about, giving you the information you need to go beyond the surface, to think critically, and to engage in meaningful conversations about the events shaping our world. Until next time.